Hey guys, so today this is my sixth vlog. Stayed in the same scenery. This time moved to my bed instead of the same desk. And today we'll be discussing an article that we read for class today. We actually had a few options, but the one I selected was entitled "Charlie is So Cool Like: Authenticity, Popularity, and Inclusive Masculinity on YouTube." Now, this topic is something new for me. I've never really discussed this um, in depth or with anyone else, so me expressing my thoughts will be a first time for me. And really, an outline of what I want to do is in this vlog is discuss how masculinity was and is described in the past, the present, or as it's referred to in this article, Generation I, and then my experiences with it, what I've heard, or what I know about it. From my life in Middlebury and my life back home in Wakefield with my friends from public and private school. So, first order of business in my outline is to talk about past generations and how we have dealt with homophobia and masculinity. Now, something that I wanted to take from the article, two quotes include: boys establish themselves as both masculine and heterosexual through enacting aggressive, macho, and stoic behaviors. Thus, subordinated groups included those who were perceived to be weak, feminine, and or gay. So, in my opinion, I find that past generations, especially past generations of males, were really more focused on making sure that they were macho, that they were stoic and aggressive because they wanted to keep up that idea that they were men, that they, or what the idea of a man is, and that they were not gay. So I feel like back in the past, and when I mean past, I would say maybe 50, 40, 50 years ago, even and before that, um, that the whole idea of homophobia was more existent than it is now. I feel like now times have changed in a positive way, but in the past, people, especially men, were all about making sure that they were not considered gay because that would, in their idea, um, make them look weak, make them look not like men, therefore inferior to other people. So the past generations, the non-generation I people, were obviously more aggressive and hostile, and were more prone to protect their idea of masculinity. Something else from the article that helps support this idea is something known as the inclusive masculinity theory, or the IMT. And what that states is cultures in which homophobia is an effective way of regulating masculinity. Thus, in periods of homohysteria, men and boys will use homophobia alongside exaggerated masculinity to distance themselves from homosexual suspicion and secure their position in a hierarchical masculine stratification. So that is basically that this whole theory is what rings true or what rang true in the past and what you see sometimes now in the present in certain people, and that we try to do things to make us look tough so that we avoid being considered inferior in society. Now, I would like to discuss how this generation is perceived when it comes to talking about things such as masculinity and homophobia. This generation in the article is referred to as Generation I, and what they claim, and I agree with this, is the men and boys of Generation I are characterized by their inclusive masculinities and attitudes, which find homophobia, not homosexuality, to be unacceptable. I think as men, we've made an incredible stride and have achieved a lot in going away from the past tendencies of being all about this macho man mentality. I myself have never been that type of guy. I feel like I was raised in a household, or I was successfully raised in a household where we were we were raised to believe that everyone is equal, that no one is inferior to anyone else, and no one is superior to anyone else. And I feel that I myself um, have never been really around a lot of people, or at least I don't like to associate myself with people who are stuck in sort of this past mentality, the mentality of the past generations. Nowadays, I feel we are very inclusive. We are a very inclusive society, very inclusive generation who try to put away our tendencies and understand that homophobia is bad. That a person, whether they are gay, lesbian, or not, or straight, um, they're all the same. There's no reason to be aggressive or angry towards them, or feel that if you are gay or lesbian that you are inferior in society. Everyone is equal. Now, how I see this on campus at Middlebury, and also in my past with my public school and private school friends, is that sometimes I feel like maybe because it's such a touchy subject that sometimes if white straight males are perceived as automatically being homophobic without anyone getting to know each other, um, and really understanding what people believe in, and I find that completely unfair. So on campus, I find that we are a very open community. Middlebury is incredibly liberal, but not to the extreme like some other universities, and it's nothing bad. It's an incredibly inclusive place. I think in my private school, I attended a all male private high school in Massachusetts, which leaned a little bit more to the conservative side. And there, you could definitely see that no one, at least no one, while I was there, came out as gay. And because it's an all male school, a lot of testosterone, um, and a lot of pressure put on more, I guess, athletics and academics is just who's really the best. So who's the best boy there at the on campus. Um, and that's very tough. So there was no really room for anyone who was considered more artsy or more feminine were considered a bit inferior, which is something unfortunate. It's something that very few people, and believe it or not, the ones who were the most athletic or or the ones who thought that they ruled the school had that idea and were very ignorant, in my opinion, um, of how they perceived males. They were very stuck in the past, thought they were the best because they were the best football player, this and that. And I think that's incredibly stupid. I think that they should most definitely be more inclusive of people. Um, so now that I look back on it, I find that I've lived in, I guess, two different worlds. Coming from that private high school where the idea and the ideals were more conservative and not as inclusive, and now I'm here at Middlebury where people are more liberal and more inclusive is something dramatically different, but that I'm happy to be a part of. I feel that it's an excellent thing, and I'm very proud that I'm part of a generation, this generation I, that have finally come to their senses and realized that this type of treatment towards homosexuals is not right and should not exist.